Hey folks, Neil here, and I haven't produced a guide for you in ages. So here I am, back with this Samsung. We're going to change the rear on this Galaxy S9. The only tools that you're going to need is this plastic tool. It's like a pick, guitar pick, and a nice Sesamo, which are fantastic. Now you've got to be careful with this on this repair, and the plectrum is probably the best tool, but the Sesamo is also very useful. So I've already put it in the oven to warm up the back. I would suggest you guys, it's a low temperature, probably a hairdryer or something like that would do. We've got a non-marking tool here as well to go in from the side. You can pick up all these tools from the links below on Amazon. Support our channel if you would by purchasing anything you can. In fact, it doesn't matter what you purchase through Amazon, as long as you go through our link and then search for whatever you want. You can find our tools on there as well. So whatever tool suits you best. We're using the Sesamo because we do this day in, day out, but you've got to be super careful because as thin as it is, you can go too far. But what you need to do is break the adhesive line around the edge of the screen. Now, breaking the adhesive on the rear I mean, you've got an adhesive layer that's about 3 or 4 mil in. That's why my colleague here is making sure that his thumb's stopping it from going through too far. But I just recommend using the pick or the non-marking tool if you're not that confident, because one slip can be the end or a very expensive end to your repair. Now, warming the back up gently with a hairdryer or something like that, or a heat mat, it just makes the adhesive that little bit more fluid, so to speak. It is adhesive tape, so it doesn't become liquid, but it just means it's a little bit easier to part. So we're gonna, if you can see there, my colleague was mentioned that you probably break it, because it's such a thin glass layer that you'll probably break it a little bit more as you go around it. But you've just got to be careful, make sure that you wear eye protection, gloves, etc, etc, and just take your time. I think that's the main thing, is just take your time. Now with the rear glass as broken as it is, as you can see, we're breaking a little bit more as we go through, and when you get to the more broken sections, it actually makes it quite hard to pry it away, but you just need to be patient. So we just need to keep going around there, and it's about being patient and making sure that you don't go too far. This is the most time-consuming part of the job itself. You see, you're using your fingers on one side just to hold it away, stop it sticking back down. In here, you've got to be really careful. Right where we are now, around, you can see where the camera lens is and the home button is, the fingerprint ID. That's where you need to be careful. But as you'll see when we pop this open, you'll get an idea of where everything is. But it's basically it's an adhesive layer about 3 or 4 mil thick all around the outside of it, the edge of the actual glass rear. I'll give it a bit of a speed up for you as you get the idea of what we're trying to do. And again, as mentioned, support our channel so we can make more repair guides by clicking through our Amazon links. We've got the tools and the parts on there anyway, but anything else you want to buy on Amazon, just use one of those links and we get a tiny percentage, but it all counts. Obviously, like and subscribe to our channel for more repair guides, and if there's anything that you'd like to see repaired that we don't cover at the moment, one of our really well-performing videos at the moment was a very off-the-cuff Dyson Hoover battery replacement we did on one of our shop vacuums. We just decided to video it, and it went really well. So we're coming up to the area where you need to be super careful here, and that is the cable and the section that is around the camera lens. There's a tiny little cable in there that is connected to the main phone. It's stuck to the actual glass bit that you're removing, and it's a really short cable. It will pop out of its own accord, but what you don't want to do is go far too far in with the tool and end up cutting the cable or damaging any part of the cable or the connections. So anywhere around the top part of the phone, just be really careful. So I don't know if you can have a look in there, but right inside there, kind of, it's really hard to see, but you'll get the idea when we pop the casing off. So unfortunately, obviously, because we're resting the phone on its side, the power button presses and it's turned the phone on. It's pretty unavoidable, and you're probably going to end up doing it just by the fact that you lean the phone on the mat. So, I mean, by all means, carry on and then turn it off when you've got to a point where you can. We always recommend turning the device off before you go inside and do anything, and then obviously turning the phone off before you disconnect the battery if you ever need to. On this repair, you don't. So really sensitive areas here. The bottom 2/3 of the phone to the top is pretty. No, there's nothing. There's no cables or anything. But this top section, you've got a bit going on. The home and the fingerprint ID button, the camera lenses, and that cable that connects it all. The flash. Well, there we go. There we go. So the only cable you need to watch out for is just here. There's that little connector. It's tiny, and as it pulls off, it disconnects. It's quite. It's not a very tight fitting cable, so it will just pop off. But you just need to be careful anyway. There's not a lot you can do to avoid that. But just do watch out and be gentle with your prying the screen. And if you can disconnect it, you get to the point where you can disconnect it yourself with a pair of tweezers or a tool, then that is the best solution, obviously. So there you go. So that cable there operates the fingerprint sensor on the back. So we'll take that off and all the gubbins, and we'll remove it and put it onto the new rear, which to basically carry over the parts. And that's about it. The rest is just glass and a few heat dissipation stickers. So here we go, we have the new rear just here. We're going to move the phone out of the way. And then we're going to clean up the little bits of glass that end up on your table, scoop those into a bin, because what you don't want to do is that ends up scratching the phone as you're working on it on the mat. So it's always good to make sure that your area is nice and clean. So with the rear, we need to take off. This is our old rear, so we're going to take the camera lens off and the fingerprint ID. You can see there's just a hole in the new glass. That's stuck down with a similar kind of adhesive, so I always recommend using a bit of a hairdryer or something to warm the adhesive. And if you're working on it for a long period of time, same with the rear, gently warm it up every now and again. There's nothing hurting you stopping and doing it. So we're using the Isesamo again because it's nice and thin, and what we're going to do is go around the whole entire thing to remove the adhesive, but you just have to be uber careful. What you don't want to do is end up slipping too far under and scratching the front of the camera lens or the home button or the fingerprint ID button. It's raised. The part itself is raised up as it goes through the glass, so as you're pushing in with the tool here, you're trying to break that adhesive bead again, a bit like you were for the rear, but you don't want to go too far in. So again, be gentle, take your time. If I were you, I would probably go in about 1 millimeter all the way around, and then going a little bit more, and then a little bit more, round and round and round until you break it, because until you break the adhesive bead, that is, not actually break it. And also warming it up gently will make it a lot easier. And what you might find is if you're putting gentle pressure from the other side through, that you're breaking a lot of the adhesive bead with your tools, and the last little bit comes away. So it's a game of patience and being careful, because you do not want to damage that finger ID button cable or any of it for that matter. So you can see that we've gone through the adhesive bead to underneath the lens, And now we just make sure that the isosmo is underneath. So you can see as it's pretty much up. It's a tiny little adhesive bead, but it's so sticky. So with your left hand, you just kind of gently lift it, but not too far. You do not want to break anything. And just gently work away at the adhesive. Satisfying when it's done, nerve-wracking until then. Home button is super fragile, so really do take your time. We do this all day in, day out, so we make it look a little bit more more casual, but I can't emphasize enough to you is to take your time and really not to force anything. So I'm trying not to cut any of this out or speed it up, because in my videos I like to show you as much as possible, even the boring stuff, because you might find that, you know, there's anything that we might miss or that you can actually see. So it just takes a lot of patience mucking around. The guides might be a bit sort of dull and boring and lengthy, but I'd rather show you something either advertently or inadvertently that helps your cause and helps your repair, rather than skip through a load of stuff and put it on super speed and maybe you miss something. So there you go, we've broken the adhesive ring all the way around. It lifts out and we have it all in one piece, which is a bonus. So we need to put this into the new glass rear. Discard the old rear now. Give it a bit of a clean up, remove any glass from the mat. So there's a few things you can do with this. Some people would just stick that straight into the new rear, because although it's still sticky, some people do that, but what I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend removing the glue bead and re-sticking it, because you never quite know if there's any little lumps and bumps of glass in there that will stop it from really sitting properly in the new rear, and it might then just be sub-flush. It just doesn't feel nice. So as usual, if you just if a job is worth doing, then do it properly. So as you see there, you just snag with a little bit of tweezers or a tool the edge of the adhesive, and because it's a pre-cut section that they use, normally it'll actually come off in less pieces than less than you think. It's not squirted on glue. It's actually it's a piece that's got a bit of a base layer to it. So yeah. You can, if you're careful and you're slow, you can actually lift it off in one piece. And again, a little bit of warmth, not going crazy, but a little warmth for a hairdryer or a heat gun can just allow it to peel off just that little bit better. You can see it in the sections that come off there on the left. It's like it comes off it's like a piece of tape. Slowly but surely, let's be careful of that fingerprint ID button. These tweezers, again with the tools, the isosmo, the picks, you can find it all on Amazon through the links below. The hardest thing about doing this rear is all of the adhesive, really, but such is life. It's tough old adhesive and ultra sticky, but then you don't want it really falling off or falling apart on you, do you? So there you go, nice good bits of adhesive, but it's worth the patience, it's worth the time and the effort, because once it's all done, it's going to look spangly again. So there you go, all adhesive off. There's a tiny bit of adhesive residue left there. It's glass free, so we're happy. We'll layer it up with some new adhesive. You can go all the way and use the adhesive, like use some alcohol, isopropyl or something, to just clean the remains of it off. But we're pretty confident that that's all good to go, ready for some new tape. We use a form of Tessa tape. It's a double-sided tape that's used in all of the smart tech that sort of iPhones, iPads, Samsungs. It's Tessa, T-E-S-A, and I'll drop a link below to some of it. It's about 3 mm wide. This stuff's awesome. So So you see all those white holes? We do not want to cover those up. We want to go around them and between them, pretty much where the adhesive was before. And you'll see it's not so clear on the video, but if you do this in person, you'll see that there was no tape over those white holes. So we want to replicate that. Otherwise you could be getting yourself into some issues a little bit later on down the line. So we're just cutting the adhesive to suit. It sticks quite nicely down to where the old adhesive was. Like I said, it's glass free. You've got to make sure there's no lumps of glass in there or rolled up lumps of adhesive, otherwise it's just going to stop it from sticking down properly. As mentioned, the guides might be dull, they might be lengthy, and I might go on and on and on, but I'd rather show you as much detail as possible rather than miss something that could possibly cause you some grief or a breakage or even worse, a broken device on the end of it. You can find all the tools and consumables as much as I can through our Amazon links below, and if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments. We'll try and get to them. And also, if you want to see us repair something that we haven't repaired yet, then again, just drop us a comment. So that's the majority of it covered up where the adhesive used to be. So what we'll do now is just give it a trim there. We're going to stick it to the new rear. Here it is. So we're going to peel the kind of the relief tape off of all the sections. You can see the actual adhesive tape is clear and mega sticky. So this part's super simple. When we've done all that, we'll make sure that the rear has been cleaned down with alcohol. We're going to, alcohol as in isopropyl. We're going to just locate it and it should drop straight into place. Nice fit. Making sure that it's gone all the way through, and you'll see that it feels like it should do. Just kind of just almost flush. So gently all round to push it down to make sure it's nice and flush, and it's all the sticky surfaces are touching each other. just be mindful of that cable for the home button as well while you're there. There we go, all stuck in place. Worth the effort for sure. Now this next bit is super imperative. So now that's all done, we're going to go and clean the back of the lenses. Now this is incredibly key, because what you do not want to happen is for you to stick this rear back down, get it all finished, take a picture and realise there's a load of finger grease on your picture that's making it all blurry, because that's your worst nightmare. So we use these little cotton buds, Q-tips, whatever you want to call them, just to clean the lenses, and then we'll just give them a blowout to make sure there's no sort of that little cotton dust in there as well. So once the new rear is finished, we're going to turn our attention to the main chassis of the phone. Now, again, this is super important. We're going to make sure that we wipe it all off, make sure there's no little bits of glass or adhesive inside the phone and all the way around the outside. The one thing for this is that, above anything else, if there's any tiny bits of glass that's stuck into the little bit, or anywhere around the edge, or anywhere in fact at all, once you start pushing that really thin piece of glass onto the rear, if it touches that piece of glass, it's going to shatter again, which is, not pleasing. So we're going to give everything a bit of a clean, make sure that there's no debris in those cameras, make sure that there's no glass or debris all the way around the outside and any beads of glue, and just clean it as much as possible. The cleaner, the better. So some of the rears that you buy come with a set of adhesive all already attached to it, as you can see there. So you've got the blue clear plastic that's just a protecting layer, and then that layer you can see there, we're trying to peel off just the blue bit, which is a protector. The actual adhesive is coming away from the glass, so you can actually choose whether you use that adhesive or not. It is entirely up to you. Either that, or you can use the tester tape. So it's not the best it's not the best adhesive on here. As you can see, it was already coming away. It's not super sticky, so we're actually going to remove it and use what we know, and that is that tester tape. But it's up to you. At the end of the day, if you stick it on and it starts to lift, you can always gently peel it off again, and use a different tape. So the adhesive wise, it is entirely up to you. So we're going to use our tester tape and pretty much mimic where they had adhesive sat there. We know that this tester tape is really good, and we're not going to have any problems with it lifting or any dirt ingress as well. That's the other thing. So it makes a nice seal all the way around the outside. Again, I didn't really want to fast forward that. It's a bit dull and a bit boring, but it just shows you exactly what you need to do. Don't want you to miss any points there. So here we go. We've trimmed the edges, make sure there's no adhesive overhanging. They all join each other nicely, so there's no real places where dust can sneak through. I'm quite happy with that. So that's going to attach all the way around to the phone, all the way around the frame itself. You can put a little bit more adhesive in a couple of places, but this should suffice quite nicely. Yeah, I'm going to demonstrate where you can put a little bit of extra adhesive at your discretion. And again, it's just because we like to dot the I's and cross the T's, make sure that everything's nice and sweet for our customer. we're quite happy that the additional adhesive, and again it's because we do this day in day out, is not going to interfere with anything here on the phone. You know, there's nothing there that's going to cover up. It's not going to foul any cameras or sensors, etc. So using isopropyl alcohol, we're going to wipe down the inside of the rear, remove any fingerprints or anything. That has absolutely no practical reason apart from the fact that it looks nice. And if there's anybody to have the same issue again and peel the rear off, what you don't want to do, or what we don't want to see, is lots of fingerprints and all horrible muck on there, because we're professionals. Thorough clean there again of the lenses, just to make doubly sure actually. Nice and shiny. Happy with that. So we're going to get ready to sticking it down. So we're going to peel all the tester tape, relief tape off, and as mentioned, we'll try and put as many links to the tools as possible in below. We don't sell tools anymore, or the parts, but we put the links to where you can get them from on Amazon. We make a small percentage from the Amazon sales of anything. So if you want to buy anything from Amazon, then just please click through one of our links. Doesn't matter what link it is. You can then search for exactly what you want, and we get a cut from that percentage just through our affiliate link. Helps support our channel and keeps us in tea and coffee and biscuits maybe. So as with using a metal tool, peeling those, you just got to be so careful, because there's a tiny layer of paint on that glass, and what you don't want to do is scratch it, because that will just ruin your day. So just be super careful. We're pros, we do it day in day out, so just take it easy. Now this is probably the hardest thing to do, and it's pretty hard to actually film it for you, but that cable there and plugging it in, you see how small the cable is. There's no, well, yeah, it's just not designed to be repaired, I guess. So holding the rear close enough to the phone and pressing that connector in and making sure it's fully located and not only half in or out is an absolute beast of a challenge. And this takes us about 10 minutes to do, so I'll show you as much as I can, but it's just darn fiddly. What you have to do is hold the rear close enough with one hand to the phone and support the phone, whilst using tweezers or whatever else you can get in there, like a spudger, to just squeeze it in. And it's hard to explain, but when you see the type of connector, you'll see it's a pushing connector, and you'll get a fairly satisfying tiny clunk when it goes in, but getting it to line up and holding all the components close enough to get it to, and seeing what you're doing as well, all in one go, it's just going to take time. It's a short cable. You don't want to break the cable. All I can say to you is take your time. If you're getting frustrated, put it down, walk away, have a drink, probably not alcoholic, have a tea, come back, deep breath, whatever you need to do to calm yourself down and take this up, because what you don't want to do is get to this point in the repair and throw it all away by knackering the cable, or even worse, the connector on the board. Take your time. So once we've got it located, again, before you stick it down, what you don't want to do is, or what you do want to do, should I say, is to actually test it while you've got the rear just sat away from the actual phone itself. You don't want to stick it down, think you've got it in place, but it's only half in, and some of the functions are working. So we are testing it now to make sure that the fingerprint ID is going to work okay, and the cameras, etc., although it's only lenses, so that's not a big deal. So we're going to do the testing phase now before we stick it down for the absolute final bash, bish bosh bash. There we go, there's the repair done. Well, we got there in the end. That was a bit of a resounding success. So it's all in place, we're happy. the next thing is the super easy bit of just putting it in place, gently making sure that it's all lined up before we go for the final, and gentle, can I emphasize, push down all the way around the outside. Again, don't push too hard, we don't want it shattering again. So we're just going to push all the way around the outside, power it on, make sure that it all is tickety-boo, make sure that it all still works. We know where the adhesive is, so we're going to give a bit of a push down. There we go. It's all done. We'll now give it a bit of a clean up, a polish up, ready for the customer to come pick up. That is our repair complete. Thanks for watching. Can I say that it's been a pleasure to bring this guide to you. Please like and subscribe for our videos. Drop us a comment or message to see if there's anything that you want us to repair that we haven't covered on our channel. Could be anything at all. I'm Neil. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll be producing way more videos.